coffee. I need coffee. Yes, I am telling my honey that I need some coffee. How is it going, everybody, within video land? Hi, Seraphina. How are you doing? Welcome to the chats on this evening. And how are you doing? Good, I hope. Everything has been going a little weird here. I mean, you know, some downers, I'm sure you know. But, doing okay. Just, really making do, getting into the lighter aspects of a day, following, you know, been staying busy for the most part, but kind of laying back too, trying to keep a spiritual level in life, you know. The room is filling up slow, it seems, today. Hopefully other people that we are used to being around will be able to make it. Let's see. But, what have you been up to, Seraphina? Hi, everybody. How are you doing? Good to see you, Elmira. And I know that there are other people in the room, but they're very quiet. Patricia and Maisha, how are y'all doing? It's good to see you, and I'm glad that you could all make it. Mystic Mouse Campbell. Is that you and changed your name? I think I know who you are. Mystic Mouse Campbell. Let's see, I've been keeping busy with work, plus the teenager keeps me really busy. I'm pretty sure of it. Don't they always? And it's good to see you, Maisha. Jamie Myers, it's good to see you. Vicky, welcome to the chats. And Jennifer, it's been a while since you've been there. It's good to see you. And welcome to our chat rooms. And the topic today is who am I? Am I a witch? Am I a Wiccan? Am I either one? Maybe I'm someone of an alternate pathway within paganism. There are a lot of people that are asking this question lately, and it's a pretty good question whenever you're trying to figure out who you are. And it's a question that's more synonymous with a lot of teens and young adults who are still trying to figure out who they are. And I figured we could draw a little room together here and try to talk this subject over and give people a sense of direction when they are trying to fill their pathway, when they're trying to find out where they belong. And it's not only for the people in the room here, but it's also for the people that are watching the videos after this show. And do realize that we do sometimes get a few good people in this room, but we get viewed quite a bit after the fact, and that's mainly who we're trying to answer these questions for. So we have to bear in mind that though there are people on here asking themselves this question, what pathway do they belong on, there's a lot of people lost out there, and this is going out to all of them while in the making of the video, as well as after it and whenever it's airing to whoever watches it. When I first became Wiccan, I only studied about Wicca because I was looking for a better religion. And whenever I first came out of Christianity, after I put down my ministerial position and I went into searching other pathways, the first things I found were witchcraft first and then Wicca thereafter. And beyond that, throughout my 34 years of studying within the pagan pathways, I had studied in other pathways likewise, you know, and I found them all very interesting, you know, and some of them seem so similar. Some of them are spun off in this day and age, with others and intermixing certain religions likewise, like Christian Wicca and so forth. There's a lot of new traditions and pathways up and coming that are being made as we speak. Let's see, how's it going, Crystal? And everyone else, it is lovely to see you. Maisha says, at first I considered myself Wiccan. Then I decided I was pagan, and now I'm just a witch. Well, pagan is an umbrella term for all of the others, including Wicca and witch. You know, you have, like, okay, first off, let's symbolize it with Christianity. Okay, in Christianity, you have the umbrella term, and then you have Baptist, Pentecostal, non-denominational, etc. When you have paganism, paganism is the same kind of an umbrella term, but underneath it you would find shamanism, druidism, Wicca, witchcraft, and many, many others. Okay, that are not Abrahamic religion, actually. And so when you're talking about pagan, you're talking about Christian, you're talking about two different trees here, and then you find the different fruits hanging from them. And that's where it gets into a lot of detail. But finding out who you are, can you a witch without casting a spell? I'm not understanding the question too wholeheartedly here. Let's see. I'm doing pretty good if you're talking to me. How's it going, Crone? It's good to see you, and it's better late than never. Always, always. But yes, I've never connected much with other religions. They seemed very constricting to me. Wiccan seems so much more free and accepting. To me, paganism in general is very freeing. You know, but, you know, when you do get into doctrinated religions, then you do find ones that can seem a little oppressive and controlling. And that's what I try to stay away from in this day and age. You know, and do believe me, I give respect to all other religions. But, you know, Wicca, witchcraft, shamanism, you know, they can all have such a wide variety of different people within them that believe in different ways. It is freeing, and they believe that you should act and interact in the way that you feel is synonymous with you being you. And that's where we feel accepted. That's where we feel welcome within that religion. And that's the main way that you would tell as to whether you are pagan when you're asking yourself that first and foremost. Am I pagan? That's a very good question. Well, do I want to be free and not be within a doctrinated religion? And if the answer there is yes, I do want to be free, I want to be in an undoctrinated religion, then you would look for more of a pagan type pathway. And it doesn't still answer as to whether you're witch or Wiccan, you know, or shaman or druid or whatever. Those take a good while for you to embark on. Those pathways, they take a good while of you looking in to them. And that takes a pile of books about this high on different various subjects and reading them thoroughly. First and foremost, to be a pagan, to be one of the wise ones, you have to be wise. And that means studying. Well, why do we study? So that for one thing, we can find out who we are. You know, who we want to be, what we want to grow up to be, spiritually speaking. I mean, because this is a very, very important question. One thing that we do need in this world as we walk through it right now is something that we can believe in. And most of us grab for that which could be very, very calming and relaxing. And not all religions can actually be this way. Or some people can feel that they are, when indeed they're not. Maybe it is for them, and that's cool. But you have to really search and look through them to find out what is really truly laid back. And if you find that you're more of a spiritual person rather than a religious one, hi Lisa, it's good to see you, my girl. It is really good to see you. If you find that you're a spiritual person and more laid back and want to go with the flow, then you belong probably in the pagan pathways. If you want to live under book-written doctrine that you have to follow by to the letter, then you might want to go into your Abrahamic religions. You want to go into Christianity or something along those lines. Something where you go by a book, you know, and people that are and tend to be followers for the most part will you know, fall into your Abrahamic religions for the most part. As far as whether you're a witch or a Wiccan, I mean, there are different sets of questions you have to ask yourself. Are you more spiritual or are you more go with the flow? And trust me, the two are different. Witchcraft is more a way of life. You do things not by doctrine. You can either believe in a pantheon or you don't have to, but generally it's less ritualistic. It is less by the letter. It is go with the flow, do your own thing when you feel like doing it, and anything could be construed as being magical. You know, you could be eating a cookie and thinking about something so deep, and then you realize that you were thinking so deep into this that you put all that energy into what's left of that cookie, and you can choose to toss that to the fire and let the fire burn it up, carrying your thoughts and your prayers on air. That would be more along the lines of witchcraft. Where Wicca is, you follow a certain idea or steps of things. You would cast your circle. You would speak things mainly in rhyme. You would call to a pantheon for the most part, but you do also believe in a low magic side, and sometimes you may just choose to call into that, but a lot of times you would cast your circle, or you have a certain way and set of things to do things. Now, in witchcraft, basically it's go with the flow. Wicca is more spiritual, and Christianity or other Abrahamic religions are more religious. Me, particularly, I am not a religious person. I don't like to have a set time of doing things. I don't like to have a set way of doing things. I don't go by the book all the time. I do like to cast my circles some of the time, but I have that witch inside of me that says that I could also just cast up an altar without a circle and start throwing around magic in whatever way I want to, as long as I'm respecting of all other people and ways of life. Of course, you have witches that don't assume the same position on that either. Some of them will throw up an altar and start casting on people no matter what it is and not give thought for anybody. And I don't judge, trial, or condemn anybody on that matter. But you do have your darker practitioners. You do have your lighter practitioners, even in witchcraft, even though some would like to argue with that. Okay? But when you do have a conscience and you do decipher first what you're doing, it doesn't necessarily make it Wiccan. You know, it does mean that you have a lighter side and a darker side, or you have a softer side and a rougher side. In Wicca, you do always consider exactly what you're doing. You do make sure that you've mowed it over in your head to the fullest of everything. You generally call on a pantheon. You almost always cast up a circle. And you go about things in that way. You know, in religion, you would be at a place perhaps 2 days a week, on Wednesdays and Sundays. You try to always make sure you're there. You follow a doctrine, and another person always guides you or tells you what to do. You know, now, I am not religious. I am not religious. I am more spiritual. But in spirituality, at some points in times, I am not likewise. I am sometimes go with the flow, do what I feel like doing at the time, and I do acknowledge I have a dark side, a gray side, and a light side, and I give those equal billing. I feel that they all have a certain place within me. Gabriel, is there something that you don't understand? Because you said, oh, okay, and I'm not understanding which part you're talking about. Oh, I answered your question without trying, I guess. Are you Wicca or not? I don't consider myself Wiccan, and that is the first thing I tell everybody. I am an eclectic spiritualist. Why? Because I practice as the witch sometime, and I do what I feel like I need to do at the time I need to do it, and I do it spontaneously and sometimes without ritual. Being non-spiritual to some degree at that point. Okay, and then when I am practicing mainly on the spiritual side of thing, I am practicing mainly in my Wicca base. But I am by no means religious, and I will say that again. Religious, again, is where you feel like you have to be at a certain place at a certain time, do things in a certain way. You follow a doctrine, generally have other people to tell you what to do, and you have a monotheistic outlook on things to a large degree. And at least this is how it works with me. Now, I cannot speak for everyone on how they feel things are in deciphering the difference between witch or Wiccan or monotheistically oriented, as in your Abrahamic religion, saying being religious, for instance. I can't speak for everybody on this, but I can say that this is how I perceive everything. Let's see, Seraphina, okay, and then none, but hurt someone I care for, better fear my wrath. That's the way I look at it too. I mean, the Wiccan, the Witch's Creed, the Wiccan Read, I follow them to what degree I can. However, I do have that witch in me that says that I have a right to defend myself in whatever way necessary. If a person can pick up a gun and go to the war here within Uncle Sam's army and hurt someone to protect our country and our loved ones, then why on earth wouldn't I be able to do the same magically if someone was threatening my family, myself, or people that I care about? You know, I feel every right to go in and cast a circle or to set at an altar and actually practice in whatever way I feel just or fit if someone is threatening my family and me and they pose a real harm. And I feel that this is everybody's right. I feel that, well, our ancestors were tribal. When someone threatened them, when somebody even just came into their territory, they knew they better go to war with them and head them off in the other way. Otherwise, all of the loved ones, the children, the babies, the mamas at home would then succumb to death. And we couldn't have that. So, I mean, how is it any different? Likewise, implementing justice on another person. If we can do it here in the mundane world, and we have courts that are not painted a pearly white, and yet they're not overshadowed in an infinite darkness, they are gray, then why isn't it that implementing justice within the Wiccan world, or within the magical world, why wouldn't that be gray considerably, as well as just as we would look at a courthouse to putting someone to death for their crimes? You know, if it is known indeed that someone has sinned or crimed against you in some way, form, or fashion. You know, this is just simply Lady Leeanna's outlook on things, and there may be quite a few people that disagree with me here. But I don't fear that, because I am very proud of who I am. I'm very steadfast and devout in my pathways, and I feel that I can give you very just reasons as to why this works for me. But am I witch? Am I Wiccan? Or am I of another pathway? I am of another pathway because I'm constructed of all of the above. I've studied in Buddhism, Shamanism, Druidism, Witchcraft, Wicca, and Christianity. And you can find a bit of this in all of my practices. And that is okay for me. What I say is people can take from me what they will and they can leave what they want. You know, but who am I? I'm an eclectic spiritualist. Should you tag or title yourself? Not at first, by any means. On the first couple of years on your pathway, you should not tag or title yourself. You know, you should be who you are. You should be proud in what you're doing. And you should study to find out exactly where you're heading before you throw up your first altar. Why? Because you can make the very, very urgent mistake of casting a dark and negative spell on someone to get something that belongs to them or whatever. You know, not realizing how you truly feel about that until you learn, which would be much later down the road. And then by doing this later on, you would always reflect on it and prevent yourself from being able to move forward in whatever your true path is once you found it, because you've already sinned against that pathway in one form or fashion. Crystal says, yes, I will do magic to get you a job, have a happy family and prosperity, but if you hurt someone I care for, I can take all of that away. And it's a form of protection, and that's where we go into the gray area. And I call that the gray area because it's rather hard for people to be objective about their own situation. Someone could say a love spell is very light, you know, and throw around the love magic. But it prevented these two people that felt that they were to be destined together from finding each other. And from then on out, you know, after you've gone through a very torrid relationship with them and pulled away, you've changed their pathway forever and kind of demented the pathway that they were on. So even love spells take a certain amount of knowledge and wisdom, mulling things over to decide exactly what side of the coin it bleeds into. I mean, and it can on either side. You just have to weigh in all the points to it to decide whether it's a good thing to do or not. Let's see. Vicky says, the last person that was causing me grief got a banishing spell and it worked. And that's the best thing. Or a reversal spell that implements justice wherever it's due. You know, but going about and also implementing justice to a harsh, stone cold death or imprisonment for an extreme length of time for what they've done. How can you balance inside yourself what is just or fair? It takes a lot of thought, and you can't just throw it out there and hope it lands the right way. So you have to be very careful in that way. Let's see. How can I deal with my family about those things that I practice witchcraft and so on? I'm always like feeling judged. Basically, you can only be you, but also if you're living under somebody else's household, you have to take that into consideration and kind of follow their rules until you get out of there. And then you can be who you are fully. Otherwise, I mean, if I said, you know, just be yourself and screw them all, I mean, I would be guiding you in a completely wrong direction if you're living with your family. I mean, some people just cannot do this, and some people will get shot in the head for bringing out who they are in other countries. And I have some viewers who would have that kind of persecution upon them and even death. So I cannot tell you what is right or wrong for you to do as far as coming out with being who you are, because I don't know your exact situation. Let's see, I rarely cast. I typically let the universe do its own thing, and that's the best way to undertake it, because you want nature to take its course to a large degree, Seraphina, and so I agree with you on that. Maybe a bit go with the flow too much. Well, you got to practice a little bit, right? I just roll with it, even though I might be able to change it. Well, it depends on what you're changing, because some changes carry with it devout consequences. So you might be doing the right thing in some cases, but in some cases doing the wrong thing. However, it does take the age and the pathway that you're walking on to learn the difference, to learn and be prepared to decide what is right or wrong for you to interfere with. And interfering, and it's even written within our 13 principles of Wicca, that we have a devout right to use whatever magic that we wish to, as long as we take in consideration, you know, that we have a, let's see, we are so evolved knowledgeably that we must consider everything to do with it before we actually start throwing around the magic. And it's not worded around that particular way, but it is there, and I believe it's number 2 on the 13 principles of witchcraft. We have a, what is the word I'm looking for? Let's see. And if I'm missing some of you guys' writing, then it's because the room is moving a little fast and I can't get to everything. I just always stick with you, get what you give. And, you know, sometimes it just takes a little bit of time and learning and understanding. And that's what a person should do, is be going with the flow until they are sure that they're ready to do so. And there will come a time when their knowledge has matured in such a way that they'll know when the time is right. Wow, so sorry about what? Let's see, just things I had said that came back and bit me on the eyes. Let's see. I do follow the reed to a point. I do follow the weed to a point. I go with the weed. Anyway, no, I go with the reed to a point, she says. And you can, you know, I feel that a lot of these things, the Wiccan Reed, the Witch's Creed, even the 13 Principles of Wicca, I feel that they're a little backdated. And if people are going to follow them to an extreme, they are going to have to revise it and update it, because we don't even have all the same herbs readily and available to use as we used to have in the oldest days. A lot of them have even become extinct. Also, a lot of the streets have been paved over. There's not exactly a lot of dirt anymore. Certain kind of trees are not available as they used to be, etc. You know, so a lot of things have changed, so times have changed, and so shall we. And so really, you know, to some degree, if we're going to follow the Wiccan Reed, the Witch's Creed, and the 13 Principles of Wicca, then it should be adapted a little bit to today's society, because some things almost don't even make sense anymore. Some of the principles that were put forth even talk about the fact that we don't believe in a devout evil. Well, nowadays we have such thing as Christian Wicca. Okay, and they do. Alright? And so things have even changed in the Wiccan Reed, and it happens. I mean, they're even trying to amend the Constitution of the United States to some degree with each president, because now they're finding out that a lot of those rights are backdated, at least in their opinion, although I feel that the amendment probably should never change, because it affects so many people and has worked for so long this far. So it's anybody's idea and belief, you know, that could be inserted here to any of these things, and whether they should be changed or not. However, I do feel that the Wiccan Reed, Wiccan Creed, and the 13 Principles of Wicca could be changed and adapted to some degree, because it is kind of conflicting itself in certain areas these days. How many traditions and pathways have actually sprung up since that had came about? Let's see. And Vicky says, I do follow the reed. I worry about stuff coming back on the threefold. And we all follow the threefold law. I don't feel that that should be changed. But I do feel that some of the way things are worded, or the underminement of certain pathways that actually do exist today, do need changing. And if you look through there closely, there are other things that could be carefully looked at. Non-Wiccan husband is even afraid of the threefold rule. I think we all are, because even if we don't call it that in real life, then we, within mundane pathways, I should say, we call it karma. And karma is actually a pagan pathway term, but it is now adapted for almost everybody now. Welcome, Lunabelle. It's good to see you. And Steampunk, it's good to see you. I hesitate to call myself one thing or another. I've been raised in a Christian household, but I've been learning more about specifically Wicca and witchcraft. Basically, just learning and waiting. And that's the best way to undertake things, and that's what I just said as a statement a little bit ago, Steampunk, that sometimes you just need to wait, linger back, follow direction of other people, at least to what degree you feel is right, for the moment, and learn. And eventually you age like a fine wine, and you'll know what is right or wrong for you to undertake. And you really, really do need to know that before you start throwing around magic and end up finding out that you did something that inevitably goes against the path that you set along in the longest run, and you already find that you've gone against it, and so it defaces you so much that you go a different direction. Let's see. I had a Wiccan friend that she stopped to talk to me when I said to her I practice natural magic. Is it normal? I mean, to the Wiccans. It is normal. I mean, because to me that's what we all practice. Magic is natural magic. I mean, magic is neither white, black, or gray. Natural magic is, I guess, a balloon term for every other kind of magic that you would do, considering you're using herbs and oils and the resources that the earth gives you. But she was probably a little baffled because she didn't understand exactly what form of natural magic that you were talking about, and there are different forms of it. Natural magic, the word would be a balloon term for many, many different kinds of magic. Let's see. When you're talking about magic in the sense that it's not considered natural magic, you're more referring to your Christian magic or things of that nature. Pathways that are not so paganistically sound, let's see. Going to the boards here. The older you get, you learn to adjust, adapt, and acclimatize to the times. I agree with you, LL. And that's the truth. You just have to hold back a little bit, burn a little candle, if you feel that you're just, after you've actualized the reasons behind what you're wanting to do with your magic, after you've realized and picked it apart so much that you know it's not going to hurt anybody, or that it doesn't have any way it can turn around, on someone and hurt them, then do a little candle magic. But until you grow a little bit and you're able to look at this and from all sides and say, this isn't going to hurt anybody, it isn't going to kill Ain't Nada for her inheritance, because I prayed for money and didn't throw around just whichever way it would come to me, I need this kind of money or whatever, just think about things to all sides and wait a little bit and you'll know eventually where you're going or what you should be doing. I suggested cursing someone once and hubby was like, oh no, don't do that. No, don't go around just cursing anybody. Let's see. How's it going, Manda? It's good to see you. Manda Moonflower. I love to see you, and you're a little late, young lady. Have you done your homework? Anyway, it's good to see you, Manda. Let's see. I am kind of lost. I'm way up there somewhere. Let's see. But yeah, all forms of magic can have a light side and a dark side. Let's see. LL, all my life I've been asked if I'm a witch. I am always leaning there. Leaning? Yes. But ignoring it like I am fighting it. I've stopped doing things like the reasons I'm asked if I'm a witch. Well, don't stop doing what resonates with your flow. Don't stop doing what resonates with you and goes with your natural flow. Just trying to find a synonymity with it, and you tell them, You tell them, I'm not a witch, I'm a path searcher. I am somebody who's trying to figure out who I am, and I don't know what the hell I am. You can look at me and tell that I'm unidentifiable. No, but you tell them that you're a path searcher. You tell them that you don't know who you are. Or you tell them you're an eclectic spiritualist if you don't lean toward one direction or another. Or you could tell them, I'm a path searcher, but I'm leaning toward such and such. I mean, so be very specific. But don't feel that you have to justify yourself to anyone, because you are the only one you have to answer to. Munka, it's good to see you. It's always good to see you. And welcome to our chats. But yeah, you decide who you are, what you believe in, but do it over time. Don't force yourself. And as someone else said on here, I'm not a believer, in laying out tags and titles for myself. I am not. I like to keep it kind of generic and flexible so that somebody can say, I thought you would, and I can say, no. I never said this. I've only said that I am me, and that you have to practice in the way that you feel is right for you. No one can sit here and say that I am stating to anybody that they have to do this or have to do that, because that would just not be true. And I have a shitload of witnesses to back that up. Why do I say you don't have to do anything this way, that way, or the other way? Because I'm an eclectic spiritualist. I like who I am. I believe you could do anything, any direction, form, or fashion and make it work, as long as you go to the right sources that resonate with you, as long as you've considered all of the possibilities of what way this could go wrong for you or right for you, and how the magic is going to work. And remember, magic is not an exact science. It never was. You do not know which pathway the magic you threw out there is going to take, what avenue it's going to drive down to get from point A to point B to put Bobby and Cindy together, which is what you asked for. Who it's hurting. I mean, is Bobby with another woman, or does he have his heart set on somebody else, and are you totally pulling him away from that and destroying his mind because now he's pulling towards you and he can't think for the life of him as why this is? I mean, this is a lot to consider, and that is how your love spell can go wrong. And maybe he messes around with you because you got him. He has sex with you, and he was with this girl secretly in a relationship, and he commits suicide because it hit him so hard as to him doing something he typically wouldn't have done. And he hurt the woman that really, really loves him or has been trying to get with him forever. This is how your love spell can go wrong. But see, this isn't exactly the topic. How are you doing your spell work? Are you doing it at an altar and without a circle? Are you using low magic's aid and not looking toward a pantheon? Or are you using a pantheon? Are you casting a circle? Are you calling to the four directions? Now, these are the ways that you have to surmise. These are the things you have to look at to decide whether you're a Wiccan or witch. And that would require you look and read the books that are put before you to decide what you are entirely. So it goes without saying that it's going to take some study. I am Wicca, I am witch, I am Christian, I am shaman, I am druid, I am Buddhist, and you'll find a little bit of all of this with everything that I do. And you can look in these videos that I've made, and you can see that I'm not only, even when I'm doing a circle, you can see that I'm not only entirely sticking to Wicca magic there, you can see some Buddhism in there. Or if I have my tea set in that circle with me, you can see some Japanese Shinto practice. Likewise, you can also see at certain points in some of my videos that I did not cast a circle at all. Why? Because I also practice witchcraft, not just Wicca. Does this work? All magic works as long as you believe in it, as long as you're true to it, as long as it's what you really and truly want and need with all your heart. And as long as you don't have some dent back here that's saying that what you're doing is wrong. Let's see, Lisa says, I was always told that love spells are dark because you are messing with someone else's free will. And a lot of Wiccans will feel that way. However, in the witchcraft side of things, it would be considered more gray magic. And yes, if you are messing with somebody's will, then you are practicing a little bit toward the gray or even the dark side, and it can have some dire consequences to it. However, by the same token, I did a love spell and got Austin by simply suggesting that the right person with the right things in common with me come to me when the time is right for them. And I was very, very particular when laying out this spell work. I did a doll spell, and I said that the right person would come to me, the one that would have so much in common with me, and that was right for this relationship, and the time it was right for them would come to me. And so there's very extreme particulars that you would go into that would protect yourself and the people that you may be casting on. But in love spells, I always say that you stick to not casting on a particular person. That you cast evenly and openly to the universe about needing love and wanting it to come to you in the best possible way. And that it should be somebody that has these particular traits within their mentality, or that they feel toward things the way you do, the way that they're communicative, and so forth, and lay out specifics. And this is the way me and Austin got together, and he was delivered to my door, which is where the Barbie doll I used in that spell was actually planted, standing on its feet underground facing toward my building. And one of my students brought me Austin to introduce him to me, and there we were together. From then forward, then we come together and we became mates. Spellworks can work, you just have to go about it the right way. And that goes along with what I say about taking out all stops by being very specific in that what you want and what it can affect by you getting it. Also, putting it into the universe and not directing it at a particular person is the best answer here. I feel like for me, the rule that whatever we put out into the universe is what we get back tenfold. One of the most important rules. For me, this means simply it's all in the energy. And it is. I mean, even whenever you do put out specifics, I mean, you know, and you've got to ask yourself, have I been deserving of this? Yeah, I do have a very, very specific love story with me, and a very sweet one. And I've already told online the failure, you know, spell work that I did just before that, and I had to destroy when it brought me what it did. So you need to find that video, and I don't remember offhand which one it was, but I did do the same spell work beforehand, and I wasn't specific enough, and it got me a lot of trouble. I had to, I paid for that one, and I had to break it and redo, and then I got Austin. So you've got to be very careful about what all you do. But the energy you put out, you are going to get back what you put out there. That means also if you've done bad, then it could go against you in a very negative way, so you learn yet another lesson. However, if you've been good and helpful to other people, and you've been putting out there what would be good and full of love for other people, I'm sorry, having acid reflux here periodically, but if you put out good for other people and you try to help them, then you will get back good. So it really depends on who you are and what you've done likewise. And that's true, Marianne. That is very true and a good point. You put that love and energy out there, and your and Austin's attraction to each other, it came to you. Thank the goddess. And I do every day. He is the sweetest person I've ever known. We've been together for 8 years now. We haven't broke up one time. We have gotten on each other's nerves, but I think that's pretty normal with everybody. But I would never want to see my life without him. I really, really wouldn't. And I feel that I was told, actually, when I astral projected into a higher place, I was told that it was because I was fulfilling and finishing a fulfillment of a pathway that I was on for the higher power. And I was going to undertake another long fulfillment of a pathway, and I guess this could be it. You know? But that because I had served and I had fulfilled a pathway and that I was doing right for everybody as much as I could, then I would be granted a blessing upon me, you know. And I feel that that's him. I feel that he came to me because of their happiness toward me. You know, the higher power's happiness toward me. And I feel that we're all blessed in that way. But now, you know, the question here again is, should somebody fulfill Wicca or witchcraft or paganism? The answer here inevitably would be is that you will know when the time comes, but you will not know, or you should not know, actually, within the first 2 years. If you do, then it can sometimes jolt you. You can get overly involved in something. You can work towards something so hard, and you can find that your path is only going to alternate and change. Likewise, you could adapt to that pathway, taking it into yourself, and you can add other pathways to it, and then you end up with someone like me, who's eclectic in every sense and term, so much that you have to coin a pathway name for yourself, you know, such as eclectic spirituality. You have to make it your own, you know. Let's see. Steampunk, secondhand bookstores. Okay, telling someone where they could find books. My husband and I have been together for 36 years and married for 17. Way to go. That's a very, very good, strong love. And weren't you the one that also said you were on different pathways, Marianne? I'm not sure. Even if that's the so of it, then basically y'all have done very good, because traditions and pathways can conflict to some degree. Me and Austin aren't on the same pathways. He's pretty much agnostic, where I am eclectic spiritualist. He doesn't know exactly what it is he wants to believe in yet, where I believe in everything. And so we're exact opposite of each other on that note, and we do balance each other in every sense of the word. But he is the oldest out of the two of us, even if he is 27 almost, and I am 50 years old. You know, he had to come in at my age of 42 and stop me partying and calm me down. You know, good to know. I think the only secondhand bookstores, oh, that's another part to that conversation. Really is awesome, Marianne. Again, let me remind everybody that when you do have a question or a very strong statement that you want to make to me, other than yelling and screaming at me, of course, because then I'll bite your head off, then write it in all caps so that I could be sure and catch it, because there is so many people typing in here that I could get lost easily. But anyway, as I was saying, Wicca, witchcraft, shaman, druid, whatever pathway you're on, you're going to find that if you choose right at the beginning to try to tag yourself with any of these, that is going to bend and flex so much of the time you're only going to confuse yourself. Choose at the beginning to be a path searcher and refer to yourself only as that, if you have to refer to yourself at all. And basically just go with the flow. Learn a little bit of everything. Pick up books on all of it and read them boogers, because that's what we are meant to do, is study and read. And by that we'll obtain a crap load of knowledge that we can carry with us through all of our pathways. Even if we choose to settle on one particular pathway, it does not hurt to have a certain knowledge of all the other ones, because you're going to find 9 out of 10 times that whether you go into a pagan festival and celebration where everybody is, or an eclectic spiritualist tabernacle, or you know, some other eclectic group setting, you're going to meet other people that are from many different pathways, and you're going to need to know a little bit about them. I think that it happens to a lot of us, but sometimes it's easier to just go with it rather than to fight it, or better yet, than to pigeonhole ourselves into anything else that we're not absolutely sure of. But yes, always good to know about different pathways and to understand people that will later be your friends, because you are going to find that you are a witch, or you are a Wiccan, or you are this or that, but you have a friend that is on an alternate path, something completely different, but is pagan and you can resonate with enough to sit in a room with. And so you would trade secrets or ideas, and it doesn't hurt for us to take other people's ways into our circle and add it into ours, even if we do claim a pathway. But yes, when people ask me what I am, I say I'm an eclectic spiritualist with a witchcraft Wicca base. Eclectic spiritualist with a witchcraft Wicca base. That's what I adhere to. That's who I am. But it does not mean that I cannot go into the other sides of religion and do things in other ways, because I've reserved that right through that name. I know I was born a witch. I am finally comfortable with my craft and eager to learn more and more. Being atheist, I can't see myself connecting with any deity, but I do believe in energy and power of intent. Okay, so what you're saying is that you are an atheistic witch? I mean, people are coining certain titles for themselves in certain ways, and I mean, it's good to understand who you are if that is what you consider yourself. But if it's not what you feel is your name, or that you are just trying to find out who you are right now, then let me know that so I can understand more about you. Lisa says, I feel confused. And that is where we need to go back and crack those books open, or watch those videos that are synonymous with various pathways, and decide how we feel about ourselves. You know, but it's all right to be confused, and in that regard, we just call ourselves a path searcher. You know, and there's nothing wrong with that. I love connecting with myself, loved being at one with nature and the universe. And that's why a lot of us are in paganism, because we are of the earth. We are of, you know, so a natural witch, not an atheistic witch, because you said being an atheist in your comment, and that's very confusing to me. Let's see. I'm finally comfortable with my craft and eager to learn more and more. Being atheist, I can't see myself connecting with any deity, but I do believe in energy of power of. So that just told me you were an atheist, and so I don't understand, because now also a witch. Okay, so well, witches can be so many different things, and that's why they are a witch. Not spiritually inclined to one particular way of doing things, or a doctrine, or a way of casting a circle, etc. A witch always reserves their right to sit down and do their magic in any way, form, or fashion they feel, and doesn't always cast a circle, or generally doesn't cast a circle. May sage their altar and nothing else, or do an entire room of whatever, you know, or just go out in nature where everything is clean and ready to do whatever works. Hi Cindy, how are you doing? Let's see, good question. Let's see, what would you consider a natural born witch? I consider a natural witch to be somebody that just takes it up like that without being veered in any particular way, form, or fashion. Somebody, let's see, somebody that isn't otherwise classified as a genetic witch, a heck witch, or a reincarnate witch. That's what I feel a natural witch is. It would be somebody that is just natural into swinging into that flow and doing things without much trouble. That's what I feel a natural witch is. Somebody that's naturally inclined to it with no problem. I am interested in everything, and I want to learn and practice all. And so that would make you one that's leading up to eclectic spiritualist or eclectic pagan. Now, see, the difference between eclectic spiritualist and eclectic pagan was an eclectic pagan is someone who is entirely and utterly on the pagan pathways and does not add any form or fashion of the Abrahamic religions into it. On the other hand, an eclectic spiritualist is someone that would adhere to all the pagan religions and belief systems, as well as to allow a certain amount of the Christian religions and other Abrahamic religions seep in. And that's how I feel about that, and what the difference is between what is eclectic pagan and eclectic spiritualist. And a lot of people will try to coin for themselves eclectic pagan, while others will coin for themselves eclectic spiritualist. The word coin for themselves, does that mean to be creating for yourself that path? Or does it mean to start taking it to yourself for yourself? Because some of the new terms I'm just not up on today, and then I might be up on them a lot more than what I think I am. Is it possible to make things happen as you want using your mind, your power? Yes, you can. I mean, change the present, including people and actions. I don't know if I am being clear. This would be more of a witchcraft gift. Would be somebody that would just go into their mind and start doing basically spell works there, not using any physical ingredients. It's also a sign of the gift of person that has telekinesis as well, and is spiritualist within the pagan pathways as far as Wicca and other ones go. It could also be a gift of the Christians if they knew that they had it or would accept certain differences in themselves. But, the fact of the matter is, I can sit there and I can tell somebody to, and I have. I mean, whenever someone busted into my shop and started barricading themselves into the room with us, and I tried to get the door open, but he had broke the handle off into the door facing, and so we couldn't get out, and the cops couldn't get into us. And he was wielding swords around our house because we had them laying around in shelves. In my shop, actually, that we live in. And he, we couldn't get out. He was ramming me between him and the metal door. So I stood back and I fed him images in his mind about the enemies that were chasing him and led him into this building that he was imagining, by the way, and that weren't real, but they had driven him, the images had driven him into this building. He was on some kind of a bad drug. And so I told them they're in the building with him now and he'd better run because they're going to kill him. And whenever I fed him this in his mind, because he wasn't going to let me get the door open, I fed this image to him so that he would break the door down. So that we could get free of him and he wouldn't further endanger our lives. So yes, this is a form of power. It is one that I am very, very predominant in. And it's one that can just about be worked with anybody if you work on it to nurture it and make it grow for you. But yes, it's definitely a good question, and the answer is absolutely, positively. As far as doing a love spell at an altar that you set up in an alternate dimension in your mind, you can do that as well. And it's a lot less costly, by the way. But you have to be real good at imagining things. You have to be fairly good at astral projecting, and you have to be very, very good at connecting and communicating with your God system, because you'll be doing so through a funnel. Why do I say that? Because you're in an alternate dimension and you've got to work with that. You've got to learn how to work with that, and it's going to be a little bit different. It really will. And so absolutely, you have to learn to work with what you're doing, whatever it is that you're doing. Let's see. And Cindy Lou says, goodness, y'all are talking about me again. Anyway, hi, what are some daily rituals pagans do? Pagans are witches, Wiccans, shamans, druids, wizards. Those are pagans. They are anybody that are within a polytheistic religion and doesn't adhere so much to the monotheist way of looking at things, except for in this now new day and age. Now we have Christian Wiccans, and so that can kind of change to some degree. But in all reality, pagans are the magic that you would do as a pagan would be all the magic that you're doing as witches, Wiccans, and so forth, as anybody within these pathways do. Let's see. Never astral before. That's something that you have to work on and try to do, and try, and it may not come until you lay it down for a while, and then it'll probably happen accidental. At least that's the way it did for me the first time, but it does take for you to do something in learning it and trying before you can actually get there. And generally, you find that you try so hard that when you lay it down and don't do so, that's when it's going to kick in. But my first time of actually astral learning how to astral project, I watched all kinds of things that I could find to do with, what was her name? Shirley MacLaine, Out on a Limb, where she talked about astral projection. Remember, the books were fewer and far between in my day whenever I was 18 years old. You know, but there was this when Shirley MacLaine came forward, you know, not as a spiritualist, but as a movie star, and said that she actually had this particular thing happen to her. And I believe she came out with a book on it. If I remember right, I read that book. But there were other things, you know, that I found on this matter. And I thought, okay, well, if she can do it, so can I. And I started scrying into a candle's flame, which is what she had talked about doing. I went and got me a nice hot bath, got me into some relaxing robe clothing, night clothing, you know, real loose. And I started meditating on a candle flame. And some of the things that they had described in that book had started happening. I would see the flame start looking like it was shooting down below me, but it wasn't it. It was me shooting above. Okay? And so that is how I first made it start happening for myself. But it was me trying. That was as far as I could ever get. Eventually, whenever I quit doing that, you know, and quit trying, then I accidentally went to looking at a door or at a knob on one of my dressers, and I started accidentally astral projecting, you know, and trying all the pictures on my wall, you know, from the foot of my bed, and then I snapped to, and then I was right where I was. I've had a situation where I was thinking specific things that I wanted others to be thinking, and then they act as though they heard me speak it aloud. Do you think that was a similar type situation? I believe it is. I think that we communicate with people from our heads all the time. Most of the time we don't know it, and a majority of the people don't accept it. And if you talked about it, other people would tell you that that was impossible, and so there goes that damn programming again. That programming that other people implement into you and make you decide that it's all impossible and that you're not doing anything and you may as well give it up. This is what we've been battling throughout our lives to get rid of and to open ourselves up from, because we were shut down as children from all things that start from the imagination and open up into other worlds. Are the law of attraction and magic enemy? No. I think that sometimes it all works hand in hand. In the LOA, you can get everything you want. And if you want something in witchcraft, you're going to use psychic ingredients and stuff like that. Everything is based on intent and what you're going to use it for. Magic is not magic, but energy until you direct your will and your wishes, your intent, and direct it into something. And then with those ingredients, energy has become magic. Magic is neutral and so is energy until you use it for ill will. And at that point in time, it becomes dark. So really, other than that, I have no way of answering for you what it is that you're asking. I'm confused beyond that. So you can get what you want in witchcraft, but you have got more work. No, a lot of times it's a lot less work. When you are practicing witchcraft, a lot of times you just do things by nature and by will and at the spur of the moment. You know, and that's one of the things I've told you divides the lines between what witchcraft is and what Wicca is. Where with Wicca, most of the time you're setting up for a ritual. You are going through a lot of emotions just to get ready for one. With witchcraft, a lot of times you just start doing something. And you have a lot less to think about because witchcraft kind of practices more in the gray area of things. It is what it is at the time that it is. You know, of course, you know, you have those that profess to be light witches and dark witches today, and there it gets a little more complicated. But everybody's different. And I mean, there's many different people in the world out there on whatever it is that we're discussing as there is people in the world. You know, so I can't sit here and tell you exactly what everybody feels about things or how everybody practices. But, you know, a witch can sit down and put a shitload of work into their stuff, or they could sit there and be putting their thoughts into balling up a piece of paper and throwing it into the fire, spitting into it and throwing it into a fire. Remember, there is even gypsy witchcraft, and that is a lot less, painstaking work in it than a lot of the other pathways, unless, of course, they want it to be more painstaking. So, I mean, you've got to figure out what is right for you there. How much work do you want to put into it? How much do you believe in putting into less of the work? You know, what is your intentions in going into that which you're doing, and how do you feel about it? How are you going to feel about it later? It's a lot more complex than what a lot of people like to give it credit for, you know, but it's nothing you can just pull out of your ass and do. And that's where a lot of people get into trouble, and they end up doing something that they later on will judge themselves with, kind of like what a Christian would do. Judge themselves with for the rest of their life and not let themselves be reprieved from that forever. You know, but it does. It depends on how strong of the energy you put into it and how strong your will is, or how strong how strong you are whenever you actually do it. Like I said earlier, if it's worth it, I will cast. Wiccan style. Takes a lot of energy. And, you know, that's another thing. I mean, if what you want is truly worth it, you're going to put a lot of work into it. And I think the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. So is the witchcraft pathway always the best way for me when I go to practice? No. And if it was, then I wouldn't sit down at my altar, cast a circle, put out the 4 candles, yellow, white, red, blue, not white, yellow, red, green, and blue, around my 4 corners, what I call the 4 corners. I mean, if I thought that the witchcraft way was always right for me on everything, I would just do everything that way. But Serafina has a good point here. You know, if it's something that you truly believe in, if it's something you really love, it's something you really, really want, the more you put in it, the more you're going to get out of it. And you're going to put more into it. And it's going to have better results for you. Because also, by the same token, the less you put into it, the more you just do flyby. You know, the more it can be a little distracted, disoriented before it reaches its goal. And or you could let other than objective ideas seep in there and actually distort what it is that you're doing. What? Oh, I was spellcasting today, 7:30 a.m. till 2:30 p.m. I'm exhausted. That's a lot of spellcasting. I think that by then you would be so worn out, it would become so exhausted that, I don't know, you have to be careful about that. For one thing, it can completely deplete you, and it can hurt you by that for a good long period of time. For another thing, by the time you get through, all of that energy that you're building up goes back into your body because you're so tired without it. So you have to be careful about that. Be careful about staying in your circle for overly long periods of times. You have to know when to ground out. Otherwise, it could be very, very hazardous for you at some points and instances. I've seen people actually go into seizures, by doing this. And that is by being so depleted on becoming shaky. And then they'll start flopping around and going into seizures. A lot of times because their sugar levels get very low, the spiritual energy will feed on you like you wouldn't believe. And then it can hurt you. So I don't do that so much. I mean, that could be really bad. And you need at least 3 days to a week to recover from such an event. Seriously now. Let's see. Reiki session. Anyway, that's how I feel about things. I feel that a person has to find their own pathway, first and foremost. I cannot tell you who you are or what path you should follow. I can give you these guidelines as to say, okay, everything that I've already outlined for you, then you have to kind of choose between them and decide which way you flow, which way you resonate, and then go from there. But all in all, don't choose your pathway overly quick. Take time to do so. Make sure that you know your pathway or how you feel about what is right or what is wrong or what is between before you cast any magic on any pathway first and foremost. Because I don't want you to land in some situations that I was in as a young child. And I've talked about, or as a teenager. Not a young child, but a teenager. Anyway, and I've talked about that very briefly at some point. Hey, it's Kurt Cobain help. I think Kurt Cobain is a little bit beyond help on this physical realm, but I think that if anything else, he could help a few of us. That's what I think. And I sense him with me once in a while. Every time I hear the song Smells Like Teen Spirit or Heart-Shaped Box. Yes, I need a Reiki master. And I need a thigh master. I'm getting way too fat. Anyway, just being a little goofy now and being a little on the lighter side of things now. I feel like we pretty much covered our topic. Or just LL. A Reiki master. I am not a Reiki master, actually. I do believe in using energy. I don't call what I do Reiki. I was around a long time ago and never used the term Reiki, but a lot of people say that what I'm doing in extending my energy or putting my energy into anything or taking energy from or sharing energy, that it is very much Reiki. Of course, I've never set out to study what is the art of Reiki, so I don't call what I do that, actually. And so I don't feel I have the right to call myself a person of Reiki, for that matter, or especially a Reiki master. Although I do feel that people are saying that that's exactly what I'm doing for the most part anyway. I had no idea I was doing some healing on a friend that was 2,000 miles away. That's been back in January, and I'm still exhausted. Yes, you have to watch out and you have to expel the energy in the right way. You have to lend a certain respect to even giving it as much as receiving it. There is a certain give and take things. No, like I said, I don't do Reiki. I've never done anything that I would construe as being Reiki, but other people tell me then that what I am doing for the most part is. And so that is all I have to say about it. I do not claim any. I wish I did. I wish I would have studied that, and there's still time in my life to do so. Don't know when I'll get around to it. But that's where I would interview some of you guys who know what it is. And that's what I'm going to start doing. I believe on my first show I'm going to have Yamanu, which is not present, and and has not stuck his head in the room at all today, which is most surprising. But I'm going to have him on the show, and I'm going to Skype him, and we're going to do interviews on these ideas in the near future. Him to do with his pathway first, I think, and other people to do with Fae Wicca, and so on, because I am not the only one here with knowledge and wisdom. Steampunk says, LL, what would you say is one of your favorite moments of being an eclectic spiritualist, if you have one? LOL, not sure if that makes sense. Well, if I have a favorite moment. Yeah, it makes sense. God, geez. Finding a favorite moment. You got to realize that you're asking somebody that's been practicing 32 to 34 years. One of my favorite moments was when I gathered together two of my students. One is named Leela Small Howard, and one is Rodney Swindell. And you've seen Rodney on my show before, who is my gay male best friend. And we started conducting a spell work in Leela's house to help her on one particular matter. I will not say what it is. And we lit a gold candle to represent the god, and we lit a silver candle to represent the goddess. And all through this spell work, the wicks on each taper candle, which, by the way, you all know that a long skinny candle is a single wicked candle. But they started beating off of, that did not sound right. You did not hear anything, and I did not say what that sounded like. But there were beads of fire that started walking up and down the sides of the candle. It started reproducing wicks, and the wicks started combing up and down the sides of the candles, both of them, all the way through the ritual. It was the most amazing thing that I had ever seen. Oh, Lisa is rolling in the... You did not see it or hear anything, and I did not, it was Japikitu. Oh, wait, Japikitu, you should not be talking like that, young man. I will whoop you, or I will stick you in the corner. You don't talk like that, Japikitu. Yes, he's sorry. He didn't mean it. Anyway, and everybody in the chat room, their mouth drops. I can tell because the text stops moving altogether. Okay? This has to be the funnest moments in my pagan walk. I mean, it really does. Times when we screw up and we say the funniest of crap, okay? My patience is beautiful. It's not easy what you do. And it's not always easy. As a matter of fact, it could be a big pain in the butt. I have a lot of people that rely and depend on me. 7,000 just between my two eclectic channels there, and YouTube channels. 7,000 of them. And I have students from all around the world here. You did not hear that. You did not hear that at all, Lisa. That was Japikitu who did that. My poor Japikitu. He says, hold on, let me tweet that. You don't tweet that. Beating with... no. Anyway, you know what? I am not going to repeat it. But nonetheless, I think that my funnest moments in being an eclectic spiritualist, that had to have been one of them, and it was the first one that popped in my mind whenever you asked me that about my walk. And so I would hold to that being the most brilliant. Another one was when I was burning a tea light, a regular standard tea light, right? In a holder, which was a skull. It was a skull tea light holder. And I started calling on the higher power to come in and join me in my room And there were about 5 of us in that circle at that point in time. And we began calling on the higher power to join in with us. And blue-green flames shot out through the top of the skull's head. And remember, the skull's head was completely closed, by the way, on the top. But the blue-green flame started shooting out above the skull's head by that far. And we couldn't hardly put it out. Finally, it went out on its own. We couldn't handle it. It was that bad. But we got our spirits that night, that's for sure. And then a moth, right after that, dive bombed into a candle wick. And at that point, we knew something pretty dark had entered that room with us, and we broke down and sent back the spirit that did not belong. But yeah, I mean, it can be a lot of work, but I really love what I do. I quit teaching in the outside world here, and I do still have connections to all those students, and I love that. I love that connection that I have with them. But they're off doing their own thing, and I'm doing mine now, and we're not meeting on specific days of the week. But replacing that is I'm able to go online and teach 7,000 people at once instead of 1 to 16 or 1 to 22 people at a time, and not hardly accomplish anything, especially when they don't show up for their group meetings, And so that's what I replaced it with. I can now go and do what I want, when I want, online, and throw up a live stream whenever I feel like it and teach 7,000 people, rather than the handful that I was that doesn't feel that I'm the only one that has to show up. Let's see, Steampunk says, promise I won't tweet about it. Honestly, I would love to read a book by you just about moments like these. I have some moments, let me tell you. You have no idea. Just learning in every way possible. As a writer, I love hearing other stories. And I've thought about writing books. I believe, and my husband believes, that I would be very good at it. Really fun watching you speak on all of these topics. It's something else, isn't it? And Austin, you changed your name from the last time I saw you. You went to a more subtle name, huh? I guess you feel more Austin these days, correct? But I know who you are. I do. And it's good to see you joining the chats again. It really is. It's been a while. Let's see, Cindy Lou Who. Ooh. Either she caught something real freaking slow, or she just stepped in something and she's not telling us all about it. You guys really don't know it, but I do have one hell of a sense of humor. I drive my husband crazy, and I keep everybody around me rolling out here in the world for the most part. But I like that lighter side of me. I like that idea, Lisa says. Which idea are you talking about, my girl? I don't know. About Steampunk tweeting and telling on me? No. I didn't change my name. I've always been Austin Shipping. My YouTube username a while ago was Team Witch, but that was years ago. Yeah, but aren't you on Facebook on a different term? I don't know. Maybe I'm confusing you and somebody else. It don't matter. It's good to know you. You seem to be a very, very sweet person. And I've seen you a few times on here. I'm talking about Envoy the Dragon. Do you know anybody by that name? I am lost. I am so lost. Too many drugs in my oldest days. God, my mind is warped. No, I love talking to you guys. You are amazing. You really are. Dark stuff? What's dark? Oh no, that's not you? What's dark stuff, Cindy Lou? Anyway, I know a few Austins, and so probably that's where I got my stuff crossed, because my man is named Austin. You're named Austin. Are we connected on Facebook, Austin? And by that I'm talking to you, Austin Shippey. I ought to call you AS because my husband's name is Austin, and people could really confuse that. Too many drugs in my old days. Oh God. But hey, I'm pretty laid back, and I got my brains about me still. As usual, lagging. Now I know how much. How are you lagging? I don't think we are. We should at each other. Well, I always tell people very openly that you're welcome to join me on my Facebook account. I'm going to get to a point where I'm only adding people that I talk to on the live streams or that I know specifically from my channels, because too many people are adding me all over the place that I don't know where the hell they're adding me from, generally from other friends' pages, and they're not even interested in witchcraft, and most of them are trying to hit on me or whatever, and I'm like, okay, I'm fixing to have to start nip a lot of that shit in the bud, Start only adding people that I've talked to online here, like this, or people that I talk to underneath the videos, where the videos are displayed and all of that. I don't think anybody would really, really love to get in my brain, Gabrielle. I don't think. It's rather dark, and there it is. A person could get very lost indeed. And it would be up to Shannon, my lightest self, or Leanne, my darkest self, to find you and bring you out so that you could find the light of day once more. I am funny all the time. It's just that usually I am overly serious and trying to hold information with what I'm trying to do. This is me after the topic has been fully covered and I know it and I can put it to rest and just chill with you guys. And that's the difference between with what I'm doing now and what I usually do when I'm making these videos. And I'm trying to get that laid back position on all my videos all the way through, but it's kind of hard because a lot of people don't like to stay on topic. Are you one of those? Anyway, now basically, yes, it is hard to stay on topic as it is, so most of the time I have to stay constructive because there are so few in the room that would. The talk of an online covering, I am still going through a lot of backlash, and with my cancer therapy and all of that. And so basically, I don't have time to deal with that. I thought I was going to. I am doing the live stream, which was the first incorporation of all of that I told you back then that I would be doing. And we're doing that now. But there is, doing too much stuff sometimes, and I've got a lot of doctor's appointments still and a lot of other stuff that I'm dealing with. So I won't be doing an online covenant, but I do have an online group, and that is basically what your online covenant would be. And it's called Witchcraft Wicca Paganism Knowledge is Life. And you should join us there. And you can join me on my Facebook, and this would all be the equivalent of a covenant. Let's see. I enjoy both sides of you. Either way, I feel like I'm talking with an old friend. Well, that's kind of what I would like it to be. That's who I am. I am above anything and everything old, to say the least. But I am laid back, and I'm family to everybody because that's who you are to me. My family wasn't here to get me through everything I went through for the year and a half I went through the cancer and treatments. But this channels, the people that I talk to here, all of you guys were. And that is what I look at as family. That is what's family here to me. And so, basically, I try to get with you guys every chance I get. As far as an online covenant goes, as close as we're going to get to that is my Google Plus group that I've had for 2 years, and it's called Witchcraft Wicca Paganism Knowledge is Life. And it's been there for a long time, and we're near 1,000 people on that group right now. And I'll type that in. And you can just copy and paste this or whatever into your browser and find it. It'll pull it up right away, and you can join us there on Google Plus, or you can add me as a friend on Facebook under Eclectic Spiritualist. Not Eclectic Spirituality on Facebook, but Eclectic Spiritualist. And from there, you'll learn all about, from my Facebook, you'll learn all about my website, because I advertise on there for that. I alert people to when my next video is coming up, or that we're fixing to live stream, or all of that. I mean, if you tie into my Facebook, then you'll have tied into pretty much everything I do. And I have websites, I have 3 Twitter accounts, I have 3 YouTube accounts, I have 3 Facebook pages, and 1 Facebook major account. And then I have Patreon, Steam, Streamlabs, and PayPal. I have, oh my God, so much social media coming up, that it's wild. And so I stay real busy with all this. And so even, the groups that are out there that I am creating, I am not in charge of them. It is people that is moderating them on my behalf, because I can't be on top of everything with the way things are going. As a matter of fact, it's hard for me to even answer a lot of my own messages on YouTube these days, and a lot of people get mad at me because it'll take a little bit longer, or I won't have answered it exactly the way they had hoped to hear it, or whatever. And so it gets a little bit complicated for me these days. I saw the chat way before I saw you type it. That's odd. It really is. I believe you made a video on this before, but when you teach students in person, what tradition or style of the craft do you pass on to them? All of them. If they join me in real life, okay, and I pretty much emphasize on certain ways that Wicca or witchcraft does this or that on all my videos. But in real life, whenever they come and they're at one with me in the circles, they know I'm an eclectic spiritualist, and you will find often a Christian, a Satanist, a shaman, a druid, a witch, a Wiccan, all sitting around in the same circle and getting along with each other. And they will know what they want to take on for themselves and what they don't. Fact of the matter is I'll sit there and I'll explain out, this is generally the witch's way of doing things, this is the Wiccan's way of doing things. However, I always tell people to make your own pathway, and really, anybody that listens to me has those conventions already within themselves, or they wouldn't be listening to me. What it boils down to is a person has to make their own pathway, and that's what I teach. So if a person sits there and explains that I should have to point each individual thing out every time, then they got life fucked up with a willy foo-foo, because I'm not going to do that. I teach free-based. I go with the flow. I explain to people in the best way I possibly can, and I explain what I feel needs to be talked about then. And I have to decide for, right now, 7,000 people. And that's a lot of people to try to make happy. Have you ever thought about making a video that everyone in the whole world could relate to? Everybody shares the same ideas with, even if they're all in paganism, or even if they're all on a witch tradition, finding something that they all agree with. I catch a lot of trolling, I really do, and I don't let it get to me anymore. But the fact of the matter is that really and truthfully, you have to decide if you're going to live by a doctrine, and if you are, then you should be reading books that are passed to you by your covenant, or by your church, or by your temple, or whatever. And if you can't draw a synonymous way with them, then there's a problem. If you can, then these books that they pass to you will help clarify you as to what side I am giving you that you should listen to. Because I can't give everybody in here everything. Let's see, I can't tell everybody how to scratch their butt. You know, I mean, that would just be stupid. You know, but I can give you a base, a cause, a will, and, you know, a strategic plan perhaps, if you're at one with me on something. You know, I can do these things spot for spot with you. But remember, I'm teaching you first and foremost that not everything that everybody says, including me, is always going to resonate with you. My videos are very controversial, LOL. You really can't let it get to you. No, you can't. Witches are generally a quarrelsome bunch. People like to debate there a lot, and they find most of the time that I'm not a debater. And I think that's what pisses them off more than anything. You know, but the fact is, you know, that I'm a very passive person. I feel that what is right for you is right for me, and that's always my answer for it when somebody's wanting a debate. You know, but, you know, I mean, I don't have a lot of time in my day to sit there and debate with 7,000 people. Do you? I mean, in all reality, that would just, you know, that would be worthless. I wouldn't be able to get to the bottom of anything. We never seem to get into quarrels in these chats. I like that. And it's true, we don't, and that's because I put everything out there generically and spiritually and say, okay, I'm very passive, are you? It's good to know that you're Cheryl then. Cheryl, okay, from Facebook. Anyway, I like to put out there passively, this is how I am. This is the way I feel about it. I'm ready to hear how you feel about it, even if it's different from my own. Don't sit here and troll me and yell at me or tell me that I need to get some knowledge or wisdom or whatever and put the finger all up and do this. Oh no, sister girl, that kind of thing. You know, that's not who I am. I'm like, okay, you know what? I don't have time for you. And that's the way I feel about it. Because this is me talking. I'm the only one at this point that could actually talk on the show verbally. You know, I made the channel. It's based on what I feel about things. It's based on what I was taught and what I can put forward to you and how I feel about it. Now, other teachers have other ways. Other videos will say different things from other creators. You know, and it's always, first and foremost, what you can resonate with is what you should take with you. And what you can't resonate with you know, with yourself, then it's something that should be left in the air until you get a better grasp on what's being said there or walked away from implicitly. You know, and that's on the individual person. So, I mean, I'm pretty kosher with myself, and I like it all drama-free. You know, like Serafina and Cindy Lou are saying, you know, it's a good way to sit here, and I like just drinking my coffee, having coffee with you guys, or Rita's on one show, or whatever, you know, chilling out with you, talking about what we feel. And I always leave you guys room to say something, and as long as I can keep up with how the room is rolling, then I'll read out certain people's statements and find a synonymity with that as much as I possibly can. But I think most people here like it drama-free. And that's because you can learn a lot more, you know, when you're shutting down your mouth a little bit, opening up your ears, and listening to what other people have to say instead of barking back with them over the top of them about what you feel, you know. And, you know, we're all guilty of having done that a lot of the times in the past, whether we're in person and talking to an individual or in other groups or whatever. You know, we're all guilty of that. Pagans are very, very stubborn people and very debative. You know, almost, if not worse than Christians. You know, I mean, I feel that everybody within spirituality could be very debative. Very, very passionate. Spirituality is something a lot of people can find themselves very passionate about. However, I personally find that I learn a lot more when I listen to what other people have to say, or I try to find reason behind what it is that they're typing to me if they're in the room or whatever. I think everyone here has an open mind and heart and very accepting of others and their beliefs. I do too. And I always like the room's energy here. Sometimes it does get a little political, but those times are very, very rare. I think most of the time people are just kind of chilling out in here and really talking, visiting, so to speak. Because whenever I put out my regular videos, those are really more about getting devout and to the point. Although I do have to say that when we have these live streams, and a few times I've listened back to everything that was said in them, there's some pretty good lessonry in that. I mean, the last one, which one was it? Which one was it I did? I thought it was going to be a flyby video and that I was going to just delete it. But I got to listen and I learned that you don't delete any of your videos. You keep them up there because it was one of the best ones I had ever done. And I didn't know it or believe it at first. And that one was only put out, it was the last live stream we did, I do believe. And it was about, let's see, crap. Oh well. Anyway, basically what it boils down to is that we like to chill out in here and talk. And that's where I think we're all happiest at. Let's see. Cindy Lou says, me too. One teacher, allows many teachings from us all. Who is that? Green. Serafina Green, I agree with you. It seems that way. I think everyone here has an open mind, accepting of others and their beliefs. Anyway, let's see. I believe everybody has their own mentality. Everybody has their own belief system. And I believe that I'm open to hearing those because it's not all about me. It's not all about what I believe in. And I don't like my stagnant knowledge and wisdom if I sat too long without studying it or hearing from somebody else that might shine another light on something. And that's the truth of it, isn't it? I mean, we could go for so many decades thinking that we know it all, not picking up a new book, not listening to other people, and then we can start trying to talk to somebody else of today, and we can learn something new from an individual standing there that's new to the craft, and we can say, wait a minute, this person's like 20 years younger than me, and how did all of that come from them? And then you think, okay, well, you know what? It's time for me to step back in place of the student and take up a lot of new knowledge and wisdom for myself because mine is just old and stagnant. And we're talking about going and pissing at the crossroad. There are other forms of magic out there than this anymore, or there's other things that we can do now. And there's a train now and not just a horse and buggy. So I don't have to take a wagon wheel to do this trick on. Anyway, basically, you have to be open and you have to continue learning. I just can't keep myself woke up. I love you guys. Love you, Lady Blessed Being. It's too late here in Brazil. Oh, wow, Brazil. It's very good talking to you. And I love that we're reaching out to so many different people there. And it's always a pleasure talking to you, Gabrielle. Do friend me on Facebook if you haven't already. But stay in touch and come back into the room and chat with us, all right? Let's see. And let's see. And everybody's saying bye to Gabrielle there. Merry meet and merry part, my friend. Anyway, I think that we're all about to close it down here for the day. We've covered everything that we can. And my mouth is dry and going to need some good old-fashioned coffee and some chill time. All right? I love you guys. You need to jump up and say bye to me now if you're going to. I notice that I always say bye. I cut down the stream and then there are like 30 messages that flow after the fact, and I try to cover it all. But by the way, you guys, find my website, mysticshadowinsights.com, and look it over and give me a thumbs up about it in Facebook if you like it. Just give me an idea of whether you like it or not, etc. wherever you can. I have the Facebook page, Eclectic Spiritualist, and you can friend me there. Or you can follow me on Mystic Shadow Insights Facebook or Lady Leeanna Facebook. You know, I have all of this different stuff, and you guys can be a part of all of it. Lisa, it's always a pleasure to be at one with you. You be sweet, girl, and take care of yourself. But yeah, I mean, friend me on Facebook and be a part of me on all of these other servers, you know. MysticShadowInsights.com. Look it over and tell me what you think. Friend me on Facebook so you can tell me what you think. You know, fly me an email at leannatrice@gmail.com. Bye-bye, everybody. You be sweet, and I love you all. Okay, I cannot get this to cut.